Welcome to the Couch Scouts podcast. We provide league-winning analysis, advice, and tools to help you dominate your league and build a dynasty. Scout, draft, win. Here's your host, Matt Cooper.
Welcome to the Couch Scouts podcast. I am your host, Matt Cooper. With me is my co-host, Matt Rupert.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. No Matt Jackson this week. He's taking care of sick family, so prayers and well wishes to them. And happy anniversary to you, Mr. Rupert.
Appreciate it, man. 8 years has flown by. We got to get away, get a babysitter, and celebrate this weekend. So I don't have to, spend time doing all that tonight. I got to have a nice dinner where we have two boys, and it was, my wife jokes that we have to basically pay babysitter so she can eat a meal without getting food stolen from her because they're pretty vicious about taking off her plate.
Solid.
Yeah, but really good night. Had a lot of fun, and it just cooked a little special dinner tonight, I guess.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah,
well,
man.
we won't keep you on here too long. I know you got better things to be doing on your anniversary. So, but thank you for being on here tonight with us.
Yeah.
On this episode of the Couch Scouts podcast, we will be breaking down a crazy week 3 of NFL football where we saw upsets galore. We're going to be talking about some college football risers and fallers that we've seen through the first 4 weeks. And we'll be doing all of that through a little game of stock up and stock down. So before we get into the main part of our show, I did want to let you guys know, especially if you're a first-time listener, we have a website, CouchScouts.com. And why do you care that we have a website? Well, we've got all kinds of content, analysis, tools to help you dominate your league. Our philosophy is that if you scout well, you'll dominate your draft. And if you dominate your draft, you'll win your league. So scout, draft, win. And that's what our site has been built around. There's all kinds of great stuff you can get on there, from a bonus podcast that we record every week. We'll be recording right after this one, talking about some trends to ignore and trends to pay attention to through the first few weeks of the NFL season. And our paying members will have access to that behind the paywall on the website. We also have a film room, which we just this week decided we're going to add IDP to that all 22 film room. So if you play in that format, individual defensive players, and you want to be able to scout incoming rookies that play on the defensive side of the ball, I literally don't know of anywhere else on the internet that you can do that other than our film room. So we're trying to provide a unique resource. We'll have a bunch of college offensive players on our site as well, and just all kinds of good stuff. So check it out, CouchScouts.com, and subscribe today. Join us. We'd love to have you. So let's get into the show. We are going to be, like I mentioned, doing a little stock up and stock down. And the way that we're going to do that this week is Rupert is going to be handling the NFL side of things. He's going to give us 2 stock ups and 2 stock downs on the NFL side. And I'm going to be handling college prospects that hopefully one day will be on your dynasty roster. And so I'm going to hit 2 college players whose stock is up right now, his draft stock, and 2 whose stock is down. So really excited. Should be a fun show. We haven't hit college football on the main show yet this season. So really looking forward to doing that. And let's jump right into it. Rupert, who is your first NFL stock up player?
Not much surprise if you bought our rookie guide and watched our Inside the Prospect series. And I'm going to go with Bucky Irving. It seems to me that he's the more talented running back in Tampa. And there's still a buy window right now because he's still only getting 30 to 35% of the snap percentages. Most are still going to Rachaad White at this moment. So a lot of people that may just look at the box scores and don't really dig into the tape, you still may be able to get Bucky Irving just due to them viewing him as a backup at this point. But when you watch the tape for Tampa Bay, he's so electric. Exactly what we saw in college, right? Mm-hmm. Always makes him first man miss. Ridiculously creative runner. Some of the runs that he put together this past weekend were only a few yards if you watch them, but he ends up making 4 people miss basically in a telephone booth. to be able to break off like a
Yep.
5-yard run or something like that. His change of direction, start stop is just incredible. And there's still a buy window just due to him not getting the majority of the snaps at the moment. But I definitely see that changing. There's just no way that the Tampa Bay coaches can look at the same thing and still justify giving 70% of the snaps to Rachaad White. So there's still a buy window. You need to go get him while you can. I sent out 2 offers today in some weeks that I wasn't able to snatch him in the rookie drafts. And I want to try and buy every share that I still can.
Yeah, so Todd Bowles actually came out and said he's earned more touches. So even next week, you could see that buy window slam shut. Um, totally agree with you. I mean, even from the box score this week, I want to say that Bucky had over 70 yards on like very few touches, and then Rachaad White had like twice as many carries for half as many yards.
Yeah.
The efficiency is just not there with Rachaad White. It never has been. And Bucky Irving definitely looks like the better runner between the tackles, at least. I know Rachaad White is pretty accomplished as a pass catcher. Bucky's no slouch in that department either. So, yeah, I love that call out there. For me, my first one, I'm going to go to the college side, and I'm going to call out Ryan Williams, wide receiver, Alabama. If you've never heard of this kid, he is a true freshman. And Jeremiah Smith, as far as the true freshman wide receivers go, Jeremiah Smith gets all the hype, all the love, right? Because he was the number one guy, considered maybe best prospect we've seen in a long, long time. Well, Ryan Williams, he actually was an early enrollee. He's still 17 years old. He
That is
comes
spinning.
into Alabama, of all programs, Alabama, where everybody always has to wait their turn. He comes in, he's their wide receiver one from day one as a 17-year-old. And let me read these stats. So through 4 weeks of the college football season, and I think both of them have had a bye so far, Alabama and Ohio State. So 3 games sample size for both of these guys. In 3 games, Jeremiah Smith has 14 receptions for 281 yards and 4 touchdowns. Ryan Williams has 10 receptions for 285 yards and 4 touchdowns. So almost identical there. And by the way, that would be good if they continued this pace. They would be the number 1 and number 2 best true freshman wide receiver seasons we've ever seen in the same year. So yeah, this 2027 draft class looks completely loaded. I mean, Dylan Raiola looks absolutely legit at quarterback for Nebraska. There's a lot to like coming down the pipeline for your dynasty rosters. But Ryan Williams is one guy that I think his stock, I mean, he's vastly exceeded my expectations coming into the season and looks like a future superstar.
I saw some Twitter highlights from him, and
He's
the
so
fact that he's
fast.
17 is just absurd. Could you imagine being a high school football player and trying to cover that guy? He's like just absolutely silky smooth, effortless speed. And it's exciting to I'm really looking forward to getting into his tape down the line, because just seeing the highlights just kind of like makes you a little giddy, want to watch more.
Man. He's running some crisp routes. He's making people miss after the catch, and like you said, the speed is effortless. I mean, he just has a different gear than everybody else out there. So, yeah, love me some Ryan Williams at Alabama. Who is your other stock up on the NFL side, Rupert?
It's almost feels like I shouldn't do a stock up because he was QB2 in this rookie draft, but I'm going Jaden Daniels just because I think we needed to have been higher on him. Matt Jackson really started our Jaden Daniels hype train early in the college season last year, before he was really on anyone else's radar as far as I was aware. And we really loved his tape, and I thought he was a good processor in college. What's really stuck out to me so far in his, through his first 3 games in his NFL career is how quickly he is processing. His eyes are snapping back and forth. He's able to read leverage really quick, throw guys open when the defender has their back turned. And his completion percentage and accuracy has been astounding. I thought that him going to Cliff Kingsbury offense would be not really like a kryptonite to him, but just, something that's going to hold him back. I don't really view that as, the best kind of system for the the NFL in particular, and also a rookie quarterback to kind of come into. But he's really exceeded all expectations in my mind for what I was viewing him to do in his first season with the Commanders. He's had 15 incompletions on the season, zero interceptions. He's protecting the ball, and he's just, looks astounding. The touchdown to Terry McLaurin, is up there for best throws of the year so far. Standing in the pocket, he's about to take a massive hit, doesn't care, he just lofts it up there, perfect.
Dropped it right in the bucket.
Yeah. Not every quarterback, when they see a guy running right at them, is going to stand in the pocket and still throw that. A lot of guys will just, start to fade away, and then it ends up being an inaccurate pass. He's really outplayed like Caleb Williams and every other rookie, and it really makes me want to go back and see if I may have misjudged some things in my college evaluation of him, or if he's just, since he progressed so quickly towards the end of his career, that progression ramp just kept on going. He's just gotten so much better since college. But I really love what I've seen so far.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Hindsight is 2020. Caleb Williams is still a good bit younger than Jaden Daniels because he spent like 5 years in college. And Caleb Williams was that blue chip prospect from the beginning that came in and dominated kind of from day one in college, whereas Jaden Daniels really broke out his final season. There was a perception, and maybe this is some of the falsehood, is that there was a perception that Caleb Williams was a better passer because Jaden Daniels was a rushing quarterback. But actually, Jaden Daniels looks more pro ready as a passer right now. You mentioned it. 21 of 23, 91% completion percentage on Monday Night Football against the Bengals for 254 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks on national TV against a good team. Impressive stuff there from Jaden's. And, we've said all this. We haven't even mentioned his rushing yet. Like he's got the Konami code. He rushed for 39 yards and a touchdown against the Bengals as well. He's had at least 10 carries in every game so far. So even though that hasn't turned into, his first week against Tampa Bay, he had 16 carries for 88 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. That's exactly what you're looking for fantasy. Yeah. So you put that together with he's passing the ball really well. It's definitely looking really good for Jaden Daniels. So I love that shout out. And for my last one, again, going back to the college side, but last time I went with a 2027 true freshman. This time we're going to somebody who's going to hit your dynasty roster a good bit sooner, and that is wide receiver Isaiah Bond out of Texas. He looks incredible, man. Looks absolutely incredible. He comes in, and he has been talented all along. I think he was kind of held back playing. He played for Alabama before he transferred into Texas, and he was Alabama's wide receiver 1, but the numbers weren't overly impressive. That it was kind of a low volume passing offense. Jalen Milrose, more of a rushing quarterback. So last year he had 48 receptions for 668 yards and 4 touchdowns. Not terrible, but not amazing either. He's on pace to shatter that this season. He's already got 290 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns, and we're only a few weeks into the season. He's clearly established himself as the number 1 option for Texas, who, by the way, I think is the number 1 team in the country right now. And he's so fast. He might be like, is Texas going to have 2 back-to-back wide receivers that come in and run in the 4.2s at the combine?
It looks like
maybe. It looks like it because Isaiah Bond is filthy fast. He's running incredible routes. He's so twitchy in and out of his breaks. Nobody can cover him. The ball skills, I've seen him go up and make some spectacular contested catches too. And he just looks like the whole package. And he's a guy that I want to plant my flag on and say, this is my guy. And I firmly believe he's going to be a first-round pick in the NFL draft this year. And I'm all aboard the Isaiah Bond hype train.
Again, is another guy that I saw a bunch of clips on in the past couple of weeks on Twitter. He looks like an even faster Tyler Lockett to me. Just the way he runs routes, and gets in and out of his breaks, really does look special. Like you said, it's bananas, the wide receivers that Texas has produced the last 2 years.
Yeah, and he's listed at 5'11", 180 pounds. So the size is a little bit on the smaller side. It's interesting because to me, when I watch him play, he looks heavier than 180. Maybe he's put on weight even this year. I mean, you never really know what somebody's weight is till you get to the combine, but he doesn't look like a twig like Worthy did, where he's going to come in and weigh like 167 at the combine or something. Like he looks like he's probably at least 185 in my opinion. So, um, anyway, yeah, Isaiah Bond, wide receiver, Texas. That's my second stock up. Let's get into the stock down side of the show. But before we do that, I wanted to take a quick break to just shout out our community Discord. If you're listening and you're not in there, get in there. We've got 90 plus Devi Dynasty IDP degenerates that are just in there talking shop all day long. Uh, we react to news. Everybody posts their trades, and we give people thoughts on should you take it, should you not. People post their start sits on Sunday morning. I mean, it's a fun community. We talk non-football stuff. Sometimes people post their barbecue pictures or whatever, but yeah, it's a fun group of guys. It's totally free. The link is going to be in our show notes if you're on YouTube, Apple, any of those platforms. If you're listening on Twitter live right now, check the link in our bio and you can find our Discord from our Couch Scouts website. But we really would love to have you come join because we made that thing to get to know our listeners. We really want to get to know you guys. We want to form a community and we would love to have you be a part of it. So let's get into the second half of our show here, talking stock down. And we're going to go back to you, Rupert, back to the NFL side of things. Who is someone whose stock is down after the first few weeks of the NFL season for you?
I'm going with Trevor Lawrence, a guy that was viewed as a generational talent, first overall pick, had a down rookie season, but everyone excused it with the Urban Meyer effect in the NFL. Then in the second season, his first with Doug Peterson, broke out, was quarterback 8 on the season. But ever since then, it seems like it's been trending the wrong direction. I think they have solid weapons with Christian Kirk, Brian Thomas, Gabe Davis, tight ends. They got 2 solid backs. I've seen a lot of talk about, it kind of seems like Doug Peterson may have run his course. The offensive system doesn't seem to be helping Trevor, but when I watch it, it's just he's not making the greatest throws. He's missing open guys. It doesn't seem like he's really processing like I used to see him do. And we ended up on a team that we co-own buying a share this offseason. It's my first Trevor Lawrence share, and I'm having pretty deep regrets about it. I just really haven't liked what I've seen so far this season from him.
Yeah, so we sent Jared Goff for him straight up. And, I think I believe Jared Goff is our QB3 in that league, right? So we have CJ Stroud. Who's our other quarterback? We have Stafford, CJ Stroud, Stafford, and then Goff. And so we were like, well, we can afford to just kind of take the youth, take the dynasty value, and get Trevor Lawrence. But it's a contending team, and honestly, I'd rather have Goff right now. I'd be starting him over Stafford, and he'd be helping our team. Whereas Trevor Lawrence, he's not getting in our starting lineup right now. So, yeah, definitely with you. He's been a disappointment, and you would think at some point, like he'd get over the hump and all that talent would shine through. Like he's kind of past the point in my eyes of being like a young guy still trying to figure it all out. It's like at this point you should be a vet. You should be kind of hitting your prime. And yeah, it's disappointing that hasn't happened by now. I'm going to go back to the college side of things and shout out a name that if you play in Devy leagues, you know this name. Rupert, I know that you know this name because you've shouted him out on this podcast before when you just were watching a bowl game and he just popped off the screen for you. And that is Barryon Brown, wide receiver out of Kentucky. Came in as a highly touted prospect coming into college, was expected to be the wide receiver 1 on day 1 as a freshman for Kentucky. I think was one of the highest rated wide receiver prospects they've ever pulled in. all the talent in the world, man. When he has the ball in his hands, he is electric. He makes people miss. He's got a gear that other people don't have. He just looks silky smooth out there. But we're now 3 years into his college career, and he has never developed as a true wide receiver. He's still just this gadgety, give you the end around, return kicks for you, hit him on a screen pass. But it's very rare that he has more than 4 receptions in a game. He's not a high volume guy. He's not a target earner. He's not catching passes deep down the field very often, and it's discouraging because at this point, I'm not viewing him as a very serious NFL prospect, even though I think he has the talent to be. I just don't think he's ever put it all together, and I'm starting to wonder if he ever will.
That's disappointing. Being the guy that I've kind of had on my radar, not really being in the Devy side of things, just seeing him pop, watching some tape. But yeah, I can totally see that, being that it doesn't seem like he's working on his craft as a wide receiver and just kind of relying on his ridiculous athleticism.
Yeah. So let's go back to you. Who's your second stock down on the NFL side?
I'm going with DeAndre Swift, a guy that had a really big career year last year with the Eagles, signs a big contract with the Bears, and it seemed like everyone thought that he would just continue that production. I was skeptical. I just didn't think it was a great system match for him. He's a really good acceleration and kind of one-cut runner. I feel like he fits more of like a Kyle Shanahan type of offense in my mind. And after watching some Bears games, trying to dig into the tape on Caleb Williams, kind of see where things are at there, I'm really out on DeAndre Swift. My advice, if you have him, I would try and get out from under him. He's a one-cut runner on a really bad offensive line. That's not doing him any favors. It doesn't seem like he's really able to create when nothing's there. Averaging 1.8 yards per carry this season. 1.8, under 2.
That's not good.
It boggles my mind. So if you can find anyone that still kind of views him as the player that he was last year, go ahead and sell him for what you can get him.
Yeah, I'm with you. I actually said on this show when we were doing our NFC preview a few weeks ago, and I think it was the NFC preview show, but we were going through like which teams are we keeping an eye on, and I said the Bears, and we talked about the receivers and Caleb Williams, but I also said like they paid Swift like he's the guy, but I didn't think Khalil Herbert and Roshan Johnson were just going to disappear. And so with 3 really high-end wide receivers to feed, Caleb not really being a guy who checks down to the running backs, and then like a crowded running back room, I had my concerns about Swift coming into the season as well. And so even aside from the inefficiency, the touch count has not really been that high. His season high in 3 games for carries is 14. That's okay. 13, 14, and 10 in his 3 games. You really need to make some big plays or score a touchdown when that's how many touches you're receiving. Like Devin Achane can make that kind of touch count work. DeAndre Swift, not so much. And on the receiving side, he's kind of known as this receiving back. In his 3 games so far this season, he's got 0 catches, 4 catches, and 2 catches. So he's not getting a lot of volume there either. And they've all been dump offs too. So like the games where he got receptions, he had 24 yards and 22 yards receiving. So yeah, a lot there to be concerned about with DeAndre Swift from the standpoint of workload, efficiency, scheme fit, all of the above. And I agree with you. I don't know what you could get for him in a trade, but if you can throw his name in there and get something, maybe include him as part of a package rather than trying to sell him straight up, I would look to do that. So, wrapping up here, my final stock down from the college side is Donovan Edwards, running back from Michigan. And this is a guy that when he came in as a true freshman, he was kind of waiting his turn behind a bunch of guys. I think Hassan Haskins was still there at that point. Blake Corum was in the fold. Michigan's had a number of good running backs over the years. But there was one game in particular down the stretch. I believe maybe Haskins was hurt or some kind of situation where he got a much bigger workload in that game. And I think he had like 10 receptions on 11 targets or something ridiculous like that. And that was really where his stock kind of exploded in the Devy community. It was like, wow, a receiving back. We love it for PPR. He can catch passes. But we're now 4 years into his collegiate career. That has never really come to fruition. His career high for a season is 30 receptions. So far, through 4 weeks of this season, he has 5 receptions. So barely averaging a little over 1 reception per game. Everybody said he's just got to wait his turn. Last year would have been his year, except for Corum came back. So now finally, this is going to be it. And he's been supplanted by this guy, Khalil Mullings, has come out of nowhere. He's like 240 pounds. He's a converted linebacker, and he has taken over the RB1 job from Donovan Edwards. And that's just, I don't know how you'd frame that other than just disappointing. There are major vision concerns. Edwards has the speed and the acceleration. I think when he has a big wide open hole, he can hit it and make a big play. But a lot of times you just find him just running straight into the backs of his offensive linemen. He's not patient. The vision is questionable. The contact balance is questionable. And at this point, I've kind of lost all hope for him that he's going to be an NFL prospect that we're interested in. So that's my final stock down from the college side.
After that, I haven't really paid attention to the running back side of Michigan, so I remember hearing that name. I didn't even realize that he was in the college for 4 years already.
Yeah, for sure. He would have been draft eligible last year, but he didn't come out because he was still waiting his turn behind Corum. And now I guess he's waiting his turn behind this converted linebacker. So it's not looking good for Donovan Edwards. But on that depressing note, we will wrap up the show. And if you're subscribed to the site, you can catch us in a minute. We are going to be recording our bonus podcast for our site members. We're going to be doing trends to pay attention to and trends to ignore from the first 3 weeks of the NFL season. But thank you for listening to this show. You can find me on Twitter /X at CouchScoutsFF. You can find Mr. Rupert at Matthew Rupert FF. You can find us on YouTube, on Discord, all the places. And we would love it wherever you're listening if you would leave us a review, like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. People are searching for Dynasty Fantasy Football content, and all of your engagement helps them find us when they're searching for it. So we appreciate you.